Hello everyone, today we'll be taking a look at Windows Longhorn build 4029. This build of Longhorn was the first to include the security manager when you press Ctrl, Alt and Delete. This feature is still present in Windows 10, albeit with a completely different user interface. And there is an updated logon screen with new animations. There is also big improvements to Windows Explorer, such as large file previews when you hover over an image. Outlook Express now relies on WinFS, which I'll go into a bit later. And perhaps the most notable feature, the build string uses Pig Latin, which is not actually Latin. Look it up, it's quite interesting actually. They did this so it would be easy to change the OS name in future, rather than spending weeks agonising everyone with manually editing every single reference to Project Longhorn to what was to become Windows Vista. And finally, the Flex desktop theme was polished up a bit, so tabs in programs such as the old Task Manager or display properties have blue outlines rather than green, which is very satisfying. Now there was apparently a home version of this, but its whereabouts remains a mystery. And there's also a few additional settings designed for viewing images, which was a panorama view and a carousel view, but the carousel one is a bit complicated to activate. Okay, so we're at the desktop, and the first thing that I want to mention is down here in the build string. You'll notice it says Longhorn lay refresh and pay. Now that is written in Pig Latin, which is quite interesting really. It's like cracking the secret code sort of thing. If you have a look at that on the internet, it's an interesting way of structuring things. And so yeah, it's quite interesting. And the reason why they did that was so that rather than everything being hard coded, so you have to go, like the Windows developers had to go through absolutely everything to change the name of the system. It just makes it easier, and it means when they need to change the name of Windows in future, like from Longhorn to Vista, it will just be a hell of a lot easier for the developers to do, and I imagine it would be incredibly boring sitting there for hours on end looking for references to Longhorn and changing it to Vista. So yeah, that's that anyway. Quite good. And in the picture and video library, you'll also notice when I hover my mouse over something, it will come up with like a nice big enlarged thumbnail anyway. And it will show you details at the bottom there of like when it was taken, how big the photo is, and the photo's name, which I believe might have integration into WinFS. WinFS was a new file system which they was developing. It was like a relational based file system. It was very good actually, ahead of its time. Now the next thing that I want to show you, I just need to check the sources. Yeah, so this is the first build of Windows. When you press Ctrl+Alt+Delete, it'll come up with this. Now interestingly, if you're on Windows 10 and you press Ctrl+Alt+Delete, it'll come up with like a little list of options, and I believe they're exactly the same options as the ones we've got here. Now this did make it into Windows Vista in the end. It's been in every other build of Windows ever since, and it is fascinating really, because this in Windows XP it just opened Task Manager, or Windows 98 even, or so on and so forth, but this is like the first version, the first build anyway, that's got this, and I believe all of these options work. Let's just go to lock first of all. Now this also brings me to another thing, which is when you lock your computer, you have to press Ctrl+Alt+Delete to start. There we go. And if I go back onto there, something I want to show you in Task Manager. So one other thing as well, a little tiny incremental thing, is the Flex theme has had a bit of an upgrade. So it's got this nice sort of blue surround when you click on all these different tabs, which is quite good. And same thing if I go to something like, I don't know, put some themes. play, not that one. Yeah, so anything else, I was looking for one with 2 layers of these tabs, but anything else has got the blue surround anyway of the tabs, so it's quite good. A little bit of an upgrade because they used to be green in the previous version, which looked slightly not aesthetically pleasing. Now Outlook Express as well, which we all absolutely love. It's had a slight bit of an upgrade. Now this, no, because if I exit the wizard then it will close. Now this has had a bit of an upgrade because now you'll notice there's a new sort of background to it. But this relies on WinFS, which, as I might have mentioned before, was the new file system which they added. And very interesting. It doesn't work when WinFS isn't enabled. And see if I can find some trace of it anyway. No, I don't think there is. But yeah, so that was quite interesting. So they've got the new file system activated in here at the moment. Now, what else was I going to show you? So let's try to find. There was a hidden way of some view options for these photos. I don't know if we can access them. There was 2 different ones. There was something called carousel and there was a panorama view. Apparently the carousel one's quite difficult to activate, but the panorama one isn't. Yeah, I don't know if I can do that now. Let's try to select all of these anyway. Possibly not slideshow. No, that's just gonna open that, isn't it? Okay. Right, so I believe that pretty much rounds up for this build. There's not much to it, to be honest. I was quite impressed with the level of integration with WinFS. But yeah, I mean, and obviously they're trying to unhard code everything, which is always a good idea. As well as this, I think the clock's new, so that's another thing. It used to be that sort of had the Longhorn logo in the background. This is, if I remember correctly, a lot more similar to the one we ended up with in Windows Vista. So all round quite good. And I believe that rounds up for today's video. I probably will be doing Longhorn again in the future, well, in the near future anyway, because it's just a fun thing to do. And currently trapped in self-isolation with track and trace, so good way to pass the time. Anyway, have a nice day everyone, and let's hope COVID-19 comes to a very swift end. Goodbye.